Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the most important history isn't found in these monumental state archives.
No, not at all.
It's found where nobody was looking, sort of tucked away in the forgotten corners of the past, and today we are cracking open one of those secrets.
Really are.
It's a narrative so vibrant and so unexpected that it just sat there, silent and unread, for over a century.
It's a genuine historical miracle, truly. We're diving into the Hawthorne saga, a complete sprawling epic.
Right.
And it details political intrigue, complex espionage, and the utterly dramatic transformation of its protagonist, William Hawthorne. And I think the story of the text itself is a perfect example of how fragile history can be.
Absolutely. The meta story here, the story of its discovery, is just pure serendipity. Okay, so let's unpack that history first, because it really sets the stage for the dramatic flair we see in the narrative itself.
It does.
So where were these manuscripts, and why were they lost to us for so long?
Well, the sources indicate they were part of the famous Fossington collection, and they were just sequestered away in a rather obscure English library.
And nobody could read them.
Completely frustratingly indecipherable. You can picture it, right? Bound in calf, covered in this beautiful but utterly alien cursive script. For generations, they were nothing more than a linguistic puzzle.
Just a historical footnote.
Exactly. Cataloged as unknown.
And the sheer luck that they even exist today is a lesson in historical preservation. They survived a disaster, didn't they?
They did. The records show the Fossington collection was almost completely wiped out during a massive fire that hit the east wing of Fossington House.
When was that?
Back in 1784. And you can still see the evidence in the documents themselves. The first book shows moderate to severe water damage from the firefighting efforts.
Wow.
And parts of the second manuscript have light scorching. They literally survived fire and water, only to be trapped behind a linguistic barrier for over 150 years.
It's the ultimate time capsule dilemma, isn't it? You have the message, but you've completely lost the key.
Yeah.
So who was the hero who finally cracked the code of this indecipherable cursive?
Well, that credit is due to a modern translator, and their work was only enabled by an astonishing archival find.
Okay.
They found papers in an Elizabethan manor house in Oxfordshire, and we're charmingly told the location is one the translator is not at liberty to reveal.
I love that.
Me too.
Huh.
And these papers belong to Sir Thomas Henby, a famous 16th century translator who lived from 1542 to 1609.
Wait, hold on. Let me just pause on that. A
Right.
man working in the 16th century somehow accessed and understood this exact same strange language.
Mm-hmm.
And his notes survived in an old manor house for 4 centuries, just waiting for the modern world to catch up.
Yeah.
That is an incredible collision of timelines.
Is the ultimate archaeological stroke of luck. Henby's papers, though written in this dense looping script known as Elizabethan secretary hand.
Which is incredibly challenging to read, even for experts.
Oh, incredibly. But they contain direct transcripts and notes of translation for the very language found in the Fossington manuscripts. This proved the language was Thrusian, a regional dialect that had been completely undocumented in modern linguistics.
So Henby's work, that forgotten box of notes from the 1500s, it became the Rosetta Stone for our modern understanding of the saga.
Exactly. And the modern translator didn't approach this as some, dry academic exercise.
No.
They explicitly chose a highly modern, colloquial style of English. And they did it specifically to capture the sprightly and energetic Thrusian tone of the original author.
And that tells us immediately that we're not reading a history textbook here.
Not at all. We are dealing with an incredibly engaging, fast-paced, and character-driven narrative.
That choice really highlights the original author's intent. This was meant to entertain, to captivate. And that leads us to our mission for this deep dive. We are following that central character, William Hawthorne. We have a mountain of source material detailing his path from a quick-witted actor and petty criminal in a small town to a reluctant adventurer caught right in the heart of a massive regional conflict.
It is a profound character arc that moves, quite literally, from stagecraft, the ability to spin a believable lie to the grand stage of a violent saga, where those same skills become, lethal tools for survival.
So let's jump right into the opening scenes, because the stakes escalate from petty crime to existential flight in a matter of minutes. So the story opens on William Hawthorne. He's young, only 18, but he spends half his life lying and pretending to be younger.
Right, just to avoid any kind of responsibility. And his life is defined by the stage at the Eagle, which is this smoky, low-class tap room in the city of Creston.
His world is small, provincial, and frankly, dirty.
Yeah, he's not a dashing leading man. He is an actor who specializes in roles like Julia, a minor love interest.
Which often required him to be in costume.
Exactly, and that becomes a key point in his escape. His entire existence is just low-stakes manipulation mixed with some very low-stakes theater.
And the incident that catalyzes this entire saga, it's profoundly mundane. He's running a minor con, attempting to steal or adjust the theater's funds.
And it's for 3 lousy silver pieces.
3 silver pieces. That's the core absurdity of the situation. The entire sweeping epic of his life change is triggered by 3 silver pieces.
And the victim of this petty crime is Rufus Ramsbottom, whom the sources hilariously and accurately describe as a giftless swine.
A perfect description. This is low-level villainy, where greed and incompetence just meet head-on.
And he's caught by Brundage, the theater's muscle, described by the author as a good minor bad guy but lacking depth.
It's an interesting early character assessment. It shows that William knows exactly how to size up and describe the people around him.
It's that performer's insight, right? Knowing exactly how to play to the expectations of the audience, even if that audience is a low-level thug.
But even though the crime is small, the intended punishment is not. Hawthorne is immediately terrified.
Oh yeah, his fear is of an oak cudgel and a bit of lead pipe. He knows this isn't an empty threat because the sources detail this horrific local history.
Right. Brundage and Rufus once cut off a prop boy's earlobe just for listening in on a conversation they didn't want overheard.
That's the Cresden brand of justice for you. Brutal, immediate, and very personal.
So he's waiting there, frozen by fear, struggling through his lines on stage, knowing this violent beating is coming for him.
And this moment of personal, localized terror is exactly when the larger, more existential terror arrives.
The Empire.
The Empire. A sudden, earth-shaking bang at the Main Street entrance signals the arrival of the heavily armored occupation force.
And the atmosphere instantly shifts from this, cheap, seedy, theatrical violence to something lethally political.
The officer enters and starts reading a list of names for arrest, confirming that shift in stakes. And of course, the name he reads is William Hawthorne.
And William, using his honed theatrical instincts, he immediately tries to deny it.
He plays the role of the innocent, the oblivious child. No, never heard of him. I'm just a kid. And he almost pulls it off. He's a professional liar, and that is a real skill.
But the very pettiness he tried to escape is what catches him.
That glorious, booming, utterly recognizable voice of Rufus Ramsbottom, the giftless swine, betrays him, confirming his identity to the Empire's soldiers.
He's a fugitive now, betrayed by the man whose 3 silver pieces started this whole mess.
And this leads to an iconic escape sequence. He is still in costume and dress and this cascade of blonde curls, and he bolts toward a ladder, scrambling up to the trap in the canopy.
And he narrowly avoids a messy death on the stage floor.
The account is fantastic because it's so undignified. He gets his skirts hitched around his knees, running across the sloping sashed roof with arrows whizzing past. He leaps a 10-foot gap to a neighboring roof and suffers this blow to the stomach that temporarily incapacitates him.
The adrenaline is pumping, but his body is just untrained and fragile.
And then comes the second injury. An arrow finds his thigh and sticks there like a firebrand. He's bleeding, he's swearing at everyone, including, randomly, a long-suffering Mrs. Q he once slighted.
So he's dragging his bleeding self in a dress through filthy, nest-filled, spider-riddled thatch. The sheer indignity of his flight just underscores the immediate, harsh reality of his new life.
He is literally being beaten out of his old existence and dragged, skirted, and bleeding into a new one. He eventually reaches terracotta tile, where he hears the sounds of mundane life geese, housewives.
A temporary sanctuary.
Right. And he finds this unlikely ally. A crabby old woman, described as a crabby old bag, who agrees to help him.
But not out of kindness.
No, purely because she hates the Empire guards pursuing him even more than she hates the look of him.
And she provides him with the one item he lacks, a weapon.
A heavy felling axe, and she directs him to escape through a shared wall. This is pure improvisation, a literal act of cutting down his past.
And the scene becomes this moment of, theatrical farce interrupting the terror. He smashes through the wall and lands in the neighboring room, startling a man climbing hastily out of a tin bath.
And this is William's quick wit triumphing over his panic. He immediately drops the axe, realizing as he flees that cross-dressing axe murderer is absolutely not the ideal look for a fugitive hoping to evade capture.
His mind is still operating on stagecraft principles. He's assessing his public image, even while running for his life.
Exactly.
He sprints into the alley, and the unavoidable, crushing truth hits him. Dresden is walled, and the Empire, being the occupation force, has every single gate heavily guarded.
Yeah.
He has transformed from a petty actor avoiding a beating into a top-tier fugitive who must escape the entire city and possibly Empire territory altogether. The stakes have become regional overnight.
So William is running through the city streets, wounded, dressed as a minor love interest, when he stumbles into the group that is about to change his life forever.
They are, in fact, his saviors. They intervene just as the Empire soldiers are closing in on him.
And they are defined by their efficiency and their businesslike approach to violence. We meet the core members. Mythos, the swarthy leader, all controlled energy.
Orgos, a massive black man from Cherat, armed with a rapier, who just embodies quiet strength.
Garnet, who's pale, with genuinely homicidal green eyes. And then Renthret, a young girl, cool and deadly, holding a downed officer at broadsword point.
These are professionals, clearly operating under aliases. They report to a secret, unnamed party leader.
And they weren't looking for William, but his frantic theatrical escape bought them the critical moment of distraction they needed to subdue and bind the soldiers and an innkeeper they were dealing with.
So William is just an accidental asset.
An accidental asset, yeah. And William is immediately overwhelmed. He is stuck between the Empire's grinding judicial system, which means torture and execution, and what he calls these barbaric saviors. His fear is just palpable.
He tries to bolt, but Orgos is watching him with this calm intensity, absently testing the razor-sharp edge of his massive sword while staring right through him.
And the group is in a massive hurry. They have an urgent appointment in Stavis in less than 3 weeks, which requires at least a week of hard, fast travel.
So Mythos, the leader, gives him the choice. Ride with them to Stavis and earn his keep by not being a liability, or part company once they're safely outside the city walls.
But the warning attached to this choice is absolutely brutal.
It's the first time William experiences the lethal realism of this new world. Mythos doesn't mince words.
No, he threatens William with graphic torture, burning his entrails, if he even considers turning them in or endangering their mission. The stakes have officially moved from losing an earlobe to immediate, excruciating death.
Despite the terror, William chooses to go with them, and he quickly becomes the target of extreme disdain, particularly from Garnet and Renthret.
Oh, yeah. Renthret, who can't be more than 19, just snorts with contempt when he tries to assert his maturity. I'm 18, a man.
The escape plan, though, is brilliant because it plays directly to their professional abilities, and William's only valuable skill is acting.
Right. Orgos, who is dark-skinned, a feature common among wealthy Cherati merchants, dresses in crimson silks and rides with William in a wagon full of borrowed trade goods.
They pose as rich Cherati businessmen.
Exactly. And at the fortified gatehouse, William's stage life fuses with his survival instinct. He adopts this exaggerated, nasal, sing-song Cherati accent, launching into an excessive and enthusiastic sales pitch for the luxury silks and taffeta gowns they supposedly carry.
This is pure distraction theater. Orgos is having a calm, professional conversation with the young captain about town policies and logistics, while William is in the background describing taffeta as lovingly hand-embroidered by the 12 virgin priestesses of the seventh son.
And assuring the patrolmen that they simply cannot live without these gowns. He pushes the bluff to the absolute extreme, using absurdity to overwhelm logic.
And it works precisely because the guards are bored, overwhelmed by the city congestion, and entirely unprepared for a fast-talking, melodramatic Cherati merchant. An officer, tired of the queue, just waves them through at the last moment.
And they escaped in the absolute nick of time. Just as the wagon clears the massive 20-foot-thick stone arch, Rufus Ramsbottom arrives, shouting and waving his clumsy hands,
alerting the patrolmen to William's presence.
Right. The portcullis begins lowering with this heavy metallic squealing, and it slams down just behind their departing wagon. It's a literal closing of the door on his old life.
And once they're on the road, their disparate values are immediately apparent. They stop at the Wheat Sheaf, a high-class inn with tiled floors and leaded glass.
Definitely no low-class dartboard in sight.
No. And William, suddenly, with access to the party's funds, orders the charcoal-grilled duckling and mushrooms in garlic and black pepper sauce, noting the price would feed 3 starving harvesters.
And this is where you see that fundamental ethical and class divide. William, the self-interested hedonist, instinctively reaches for luxury. He's prioritizing comfort over mission thrift.
Meanwhile, Garnet and Renthret, the serious ascetic warriors, order the cheaper, plain harvester's lunch. This scene just establishes that William is an alien presence among these disciplined operatives.
He's also quickly revealed to be utterly useless in the traditional sense of adventure.
Completely. He can't ride a horse without nearly falling. He hates spiders with a passion, and thanks to his female stage roles, he has zero combat skills.
He's a liability, an anchor weighing them down.
His one asset, however, is performance, and he is forced to deploy it again almost immediately. They're stopped by a full platoon of 25 Empire troops.
And the officer knows William is wanted and is preparing to arrest him.
So instead of panicking and hiding, which would have meant the death of the entire party, William leaps into this inspired, desperate, and highly calculated performance.
He draws on his knowledge of powerful figures to create an immediate threat. He claims to be working for Commander Harveth Leifson, Central Intelligence's Witchfinder General and a council member, and Section 4.
And he sells the lie by referencing these intimate shared details, claiming Leifson, a supposed fan of his acting, used to confide in him over pints about his high-level professional affairs.
The knowledge of Leifson's name drops like a ton of bricks on the platoon officer. This is a crucial insight. William's theatrical knowledge of powerful names and bureaucratic structures is a currency equal to or greater than gold or steel.
The officer is terrified of crossing a powerful, highly placed man like Leifson and immediately orders his troops to retreat.
It's pure applied intelligence overriding lethal reality. And the sources note that Orgos was the only one content. Mythos watched with cold suspicion, ready to kill William if the bluff failed.
And Garnet was ready to kill William himself if it were a trap.
Exactly. Fearing entanglement with Central Intelligence, William survived on sheer bravado.
But the journey is taking its toll on him. After a particularly brutal skirmish with bandits, not the Empire troops, William suffers this debilitating panic attack.
Yeah, his body just refuses to obey his commands. Mythos has to give him a canvas sack to breathe into. It's a moment of profound, embarrassing weakness,
which Orgos kindly comforts him through.
But this vulnerability only solidifies Renthret's deep contempt. She calls him skinny, having the physique of an old frog, and dismisses him as a professional liar.
And she sneeringly adds if he's a man, and refuses his offer to drive the wagon, viewing him as entirely incapable of honest work.
And this scorn acts as a critical motivating factor. Insulted to his core, William begins his transformation not for heroic ideals, but for personal pride.
He starts exercising secretly at night, doing these wheezing sit-ups and push-ups while the others are asleep, striving to change that contemptuous perception.
He knows he's still making a real pig's ear out of the rest of his life, but the physical effort is an act of will.
He's adapting. The constant exposure to the physical demands of the journey, the rough roads, the heat, the gnats, combined with the psychological pressure of constantly being near people who live and die by their physical discipline, is forcing the actor to audition for the one role he never wanted.
The adventurer. The performance is becoming the reality.
After days of grueling travel, the group finally arrives in Stavis, and to William, this city is just overwhelming. It's a stark contrast to provincial Cresden.
It's a massive, diverse international trading hub drawn to the sea. You have merchants from Shrat, the Snowfolk, Verone, Dranitian, Masorian, all meeting there.
And his reaction really reveals his narrow provincialism. He finds the ocean terrifying and near infinite, something that should only exist in wild myths.
He desperately longs for the familiar pettiness of Crescent, preferring small-scale, understandable problems over the terrifying vastness of the geopolitical stage he has stumbled onto.
But the personal shock is immediate when they meet the mysterious party leader. William had been running scenarios in his head, a grizzled, scarred old warrior.
And instead, he is aghast. The leader is Leisha, a tiny, young-looking woman with straight black hair and no discernible regional accent.
William mentally places her age around 30, but she looks barely 15, noting that Eastern females often appear younger than they are.
Right. Yet her voice commands absolute, unquestioning authority. The sources are clear. She is the equal of Garnet or Renthret in combat, and possesses less obvious, almost magical gifts.
Their operations base in Stavis is deceptively humble, a largely empty house that conceals an extraordinary secret, which they call the Hide.
And this is where we understand the true scale and longevity of their operation.
Yeah.
Orgos shows William this hidden, fortified room.
The entire chimney and hearth swing aside
to reveal a heavy door and spiraling stone steps. The Hide is defended by half a dozen traps, designed not by a random engineer, but by Arthur of Snowcrag.
The legendary figure who famously held the empire at bay in the mountain halls for 6 months.
Right. And Orgos warns that the traps include ballistae capable of skewering 3 armored men simultaneously.
That one detail tells us they are not just mercenaries. They are deeply entrenched resistance fighters with access to legendary engineering talent and immense resources.
For sure. And William, the actor, is given his new role, one that is genuine but profoundly boring.
Reading a 2-foot-thick Thrusian dialect book about the history and politics of the Shale region.
This is the moment William's stage skills pay off strategically, not theatrically. His ability to memorize scripts and his phenomenal ear for accents, Thrusian being the basic language of the Shale region, are considered valuable intelligence skills.
He finds the role frustrating. Will the linguist, Bill the talker, Will Hawthorne, leading authority on the world's most boring 2-foot-thick book.
But he acknowledges it's a damn sight safer than swinging swords about.
The mission briefing takes place at a council meeting with the political leaders of the 3 territories that rely on the key trade routes.
Right. Shale, led by the secretive Count Arlist, Grey Coast, led by Duke Raymond, and Vernatha, with Governor Edwin Traylon.
Whom William instinctively dismisses as stoat-like.
Right. And we must pause here to understand the geopolitical gravity. These 3 lands depend on continuous trade. They are the economic engine of this region.
And the threat isn't random banditry, it is a systematic, organized force known as the Crimson Raiders.
They are trained soldiers, highly mounted, using distinctive weapons, and most chillingly, leaving no survivors.
Their calling card is distinctive. Arrows with crimson flights. And the economic toll is devastating. We're talking close to 1,000 citizens and soldiers dead.
It's crippling the region to the point of imminent bankruptcy. This party is the 3rd group hired. The previous 2 either failed spectacularly or were wiped out escorting a vital convoy.
This is strategic warfare disguised as banditry. It's designed to destabilize the economy, erode public trust in the local rulers, and make the territories ripe for external takeover.
And who benefits from this chaos? The answer, implicitly, is the Empire, or a rival faction hoping to exploit the power vacuum.
Amid this grim, high-stakes briefing, William still tries to maintain his stage persona. He attempts to break the tension by asking, quite seriously, for the muster to help the leather beef.
Which deeply irritates Renthret. He is trying to frame the reality as merely a bad script, refusing to fully acknowledge the danger.
Let's focus on the enemy profile. The Crimson Raiders are organized and use a specialized weapon called the Syax.
It's described as a huge axe-like blade with a broad, sweeping edge. They operate from horseback, wearing black cloaks and scale armor.
The Syax is a key detail. That sweeping edge suggests it's designed for speed and mounted warfare, likely used to mow down disorganized common soldiers or civilians.
Exactly. It signifies a professional, tactical military force, not just a bunch of guys in the woods. And Williams, surprisingly, connects this modern threat to ancient history.
Right. He recalls old tales and legends from his stage repertoire stories of the region being plagued 250 years ago by a spectral force.
A ghost army that vanished and appeared indiscriminately, forcing the previously warring clans to unite just to survive.
And this link is the true intellectual nugget. It suggests the raiders' mysterious movements, their ability to disappear without a trace, are not merely clever concealment, but linked to an ancient, maybe supernatural method of travel that has resurfaced.
And the sources confirm the supernatural element is real. Orgos carries a magic sword with an amber stone in the pommel. Critically, its power requires total faith in the righteousness of my cause to activate.
And William the Cynic is frustrated because he can't access Orgos' magic. He lacks the required genuine faith in anything beyond his own survival.
Right, and Leish's spear is also an artifact of power, noted for being more versatile than Orgos' sword.
And we see William temporarily reverting to his old habits to raise critical funds. They need money. 2 gold pieces per vial, specifically. And William puts on an elaborate con in Ironwall, selling the Elixir of Sensinon.
This scene is comedy gold because it shows William's genius for exploiting human gullibility. He fabricates the most ridiculous, detailed origin story possible.
The elixir is supposedly made of badger bile, 7 hairs from a grizzly bear snout, ground raw ostrich beak, all boiled in a dragon breath furnace.
And stirred with the fibula of a ruby-throated leaping wombat.
And the actual contents.
Mainly puddle water clay, and something a little special of my own that you don't want to hear about.
He promises it cures everything, from piles to weak brains. It's pure snake oil, brilliantly delivered.
And the amazing payoff is garnet, the serious, moralistic, homicidal warrior who guilelessly attempts to buy a bottle, believing the advertised benefits of curing a weak brain.
He successfully cons his own teammate. This moment reinforces William's initial cynical worldview. There are always enough fools to make a profit.
But the investigation takes a dark turn when Mythos pursues a cryptic lead in a low-life tavern in Ironwall. He talks to a scabby man about a blood ritual.
This lead is crucial and grim. The man, smelling of dirt and blood caked and drying, speaks of a blood charm ritual using the life essence of a fallen raider engorged with the lives of his victims.
This suggests the raiders are involved in something profoundly dark and potentially sacrificial, giving them power beyond typical mortal means.
William is so repulsed by the prospect of this dark magic that he flees the establishment, spitting and gasping.
But Mythos goes through with it, visiting a priestess who possesses the blood of a fallen raider and performs the ritual. He emerges grimly silent, never speaking of the details, but he obtains a small, black, and oily stone that points them toward Hopetown.
And Orgos, using his Charati merchant persona, confirms the critical link. He discovers that the razor is the exclusive supplier of the unique, high-quality steel used in the Syaxes,
Which directly links the arms dealer to the weaponry of the shadowy raiders. The razor is financing and equipping the attacks.
But the core operational mystery remains. They still don't know how the raiders are able to get to attack sites without anybody seeing them.
This is the Ghost Army problem William mentioned earlier, and that mystery is reinforced immediately. While discussing this very question in a tavern, they are targeted. A raider manages to shoot at them using a crossbow with crimson flight feathers.
So the enemy is not just out there. They are watching, listening, and actively trying to kill the party.
Absolutely. So Lisha, Orgos, and William ride to the Sherwood Inn near the Razor's Keep for surveillance. The innkeeper provides another critical piece of observational data.
He says that Thurholm's people come for supplies regularly, but once a month or so, specific guests arrive, and the innkeeper never even heard their horses on the road.
They arrive in total silence. This strongly confirms the mysterious travel method. It's not just camouflage, it's an undetectable form of transport.
So watching the keep at night, William observes a large number of raiders, perhaps 60 emerging silently, riding in a broad arc, and then charging the keep.
They infiltrate the keep, expecting to find the Razor leading the raiders. Instead, they find a gruesome scene, a massacre. The Razor and his revelers are sprawled amidst a sumptuous banquet, all murdered.
The keep was clearly a base of operations, perhaps a distribution center, but the Razor's death complicates the conspiracy. Was he betrayed by his own people?
Or did another faction of the raiders wipe them out, signaling a change in leadership or operational security? The plot thickens exponentially.
And the tension immediately spikes in Hopetown while the party is tracking the raider supply chain. Their innkeeper tries to compromise them by sending up drugged beer.
Which Orgos, ever vigilant, immediately pours into a chamber pot after spotting the telltale grainy sediment. They know assassins are coming, but they don't know the method.
And the assassins use a weapon nobody expected, certainly not William. A raider lowers a box through the shuttered window, tipping out yellow wolf spiders.
5 to 6 inches across. Highly toxic killers used by Thrusian Marsh assassins.
And this is William's moment of truth, and it's built on a massive character vulnerability. The mighty Orgos, the massive swordsman who never flinches,
Is paralyzed by arachnophobia, frozen to the spot, mentally unable to fight the fear.
And William, after the first spider leaps at his face, realizes that his contemptible physique of an old frog is the only thing standing between them and toxic death.
He overcomes his personal terror, kicking, batting, and stomping the spiders until Orgos recovers enough to stab them.
It is William's ultimate moment of genuine, unplanned bravery, transcending his stage roles. He saves Orgos, who is bitten on the hand.
And Orgos, fearing death, notes, "You're Mr. Adventurer. You can't get killed by a spider. What kind of story would that make?"
And Orgos replies, with sobering realism, the real-life kind.
But the saga pulls a narrative trick here. Lisha provides the cure. The genuine magical elixir of Sensinon, the very name William used for his snake oil, combined with water and heated by her magic spear, which heals Orgos overnight.
It's a brilliant structural device. It validates William's fraud by showing that the name he used for mockery has a real, powerful counterpart.
Exactly. The concept of the healing elixir was real, even if his commercial pitch was nonsense. It validates the utility of Lisha's magical artifacts and ties William's fake world to their very real magic.
Now, the mission turns to confirming the source of the raiders' undetectable movements. William and Renthret, whose relationship is still tense but thawing, investigate a cave complex near Ugoken.
Right, where children and villagers had previously vanished. And they find man-made passages and chambers containing caches of bodies, all with a recurring detail. The victims are holding their throats or covering their faces.
This strongly suggests asphyxiation or poisoning, a cause of death other than visible violence.
And in a large vaulted cavern, they find over a dozen dead raiders, desiccated and leathery, sitting against the walls with no sign of a struggle.
This is the heart of the Ghost Army mystery. Why would organized, dangerous soldiers simply sit down and die?
And here comes William's defining intellectual breakthrough. He notes that the walls of the entire cavern sparkle with opalescent crystalline rock.
And he immediately connects this to the raiders' invisibility. He theorizes that this rock is the source of their ability to materialize and vanish.
Perhaps serving as a natural localized teleportation network or a massive energy field that distorts light and sound. It provides the scientific or magical framework for the ancient spectral force legend.
The raiders weren't ghosts. They were using natural energy sources in the area, likely localized to those specific crystalline deposits, to execute their surprise attacks.
This is the missing piece of intelligence. But the revelation is immediately followed by danger. Just as William is observing the crystalline structure, a well shaft in the cavern begins to glug and bubble. The water stirs as if boiling.
They realize this is the source of the non-magical deaths. A poisonous gas is released from the ancient well shaft, a dangerous byproduct of the area's geology.
Perhaps even related to the crystalline rock itself.
And they flee, narrowly escaping the toxic cloud. This shared moment of survival, where William's quick observation of the gas saved them, fundamentally changes his relationship with Renthret.
She genuinely smiles at him, finally acknowledging his worth beyond his lack of physical prowess. They realize the raiders are not invincible. They are vulnerable to the cave's natural dangers, which they apparently forgot to account for. The intelligence gathered in the caves, the understanding that the raiders use highly localized, geographically specific means of transport, leads directly to the final, massive strategic breakthrough back in Adsign.
And William, the reluctant linguist who hated fighting, becomes the key operative through sheer critical thinking and quiet observation.
He returns to Adsign Keep and applies his analytical mind not to a script, but to architecture. He studies the keep's cross-shaped foundation and notes a critical flaw.
The absence of windows on the middle floor's sides, which should logically mirror the cavalry barracks below.
This is the moment where William Hawthorne's intelligence proves more valuable than all the magic swords and rapier expertise combined. The logical deduction is damning.
The Crimson Raiders have been living in the Adsign Keep all along, perfectly concealed in these windowless rooms, operating right under the noses of Count Arlist and his staff.
The previous assassination attempt on Count Arlist, which they observed, was clearly staged to divert suspicion. He was playing the victim while hosting the very forces destroying his neighbors.
Renthret and William confirm the discovery, rappelling down the keep to find a large, deserted dormitory containing footlockers filled with the distinctive red-flighted arrows and scarlet cloaks.
The enemy wasn't in the mountains or underground. They were in the fortress, wearing the uniform of the establishment.
With the conspiracy uncovered, the raiders begin moving in force, more than 160 men towards northern Grey Coast, realizing their cover is blown.
Mythos, with Leisha's authority, obtains permission from Governor Traylon to take control of 200 light cavalry from Vernatha and Grey Coast.
The party and its allies, local troops and rescued villagers led by William mass on the plains before the citadel, preparing for a decisive pincer movement to trap the raiders.
They are ready for a tactical engagement, but they are catastrophically unprepared for the grand betrayal.
As the battle is about to begin, William spots movement from the south, a massive Empire force, hundreds of troops approaching, and critically, they are allied with the Banners of Shale.
This is the moment the whole picture snaps into focus. Count Arlist of Shale and the Empire were working together all along. The plan was terrifyingly cynical.
Arlist used the raiders to cripple Grey Coast and Vernatha economically and militarily. Then the Empire would march in under the guise of stabilizing the situation, and the combined forces would wipe out the remaining allies and consolidate control.
The combined Shale Empire raider forces significantly outnumber the party and their allies. It is a hopeless, brutal situation, driven entirely by heartless calculation and geopolitical greed.
The party executes a final, desperate maneuver, Charging a wagon armed with scorpion crossbows between the closing enemy lines, William is in the back, firing wildly.
Orgos, Lisha, and Mythos make a stand on the bridge of the citadel to cover the retreat of the main force. The fight is brutal, but the betrayal is what breaks Orgos' spirit.
He's severely wounded, but his internal pain is worse. His principles, his belief that valor demands an honorable fight, are crushed by the overwhelming cynicism of Arlist and the Empire.
He realizes that virtue is no defense against calculated evil.
With their forces routed and Orgos incapacitated, William has his climactic moment. He is forced to confront the difference between his theater and Orgos' honor.
Finding a new kind of realism beyond mere valor, he charges through the closing gate, grabs Orgos' heavy, amber stone-hilted sword, and points his small crossbow at Count Arlist.
And Arliss is just laughing at the situation, calling William a coward for hiding behind a wagon earlier. He's completely secure in his victory.
And William doesn't deny the cowardice. But then comes the brilliant, stage-managed move. He confronts Arliss not with a heroic challenge, but with cynicism and cold logic.
He asserts he is not brave, but a realist. He tells Arlist, quite simply, that he will shoot him, not in a duel, not in a grand exchange of honor, but immediately, without fanfare.
Something the principled Orgos would never do.
And you have to analyze this moment. Isn't that where he stops being conventionally heroic? He succeeds by embracing the very cynical amorality that the villains relied on?
He does. Arlist, the politician, is completely confused by the sheer theater of the moment, the unexpected, unheroic threat of being assassinated by a crossbow bolt from an actor. It's an effective disruption of the political rules of engagement.
He's using his stagecraft, his ability to manipulate expectation, to save the day. The moment works. Arlist, unable to comprehend this type of low-road theatrical defiance, backs down, allowing the Allied forces to retreat to the citadel walls.
William's greatest weapon was always his ability to read human nature and exploit its weaknesses.
In the aftermath, William uses Lisha's magic spear, which the sources state has a healing power, to save Orgos' life. He mockingly uses the snake oil name, the elixir of Sensinon, for the water he heats with the spear.
Which suggests that even William, the staunch skeptic, experiences a momentary pragmatic belief in the magic he previously mocked, now that it is saving his friend. The cynical realist still hopes for a miracle.
The Empire force retreats, finding the citadel too costly to take quickly, and lacking the absolute support of the region. Grey Coast and Vernatha seize the moment, dividing Shale's territory between them.
Removing the traitor Arlist from power.
The Adsign Keep and the Razor's fortified home are converted into military forts. And crucially, the sources mention that the vast treasure recovered from the raiders' base is used to create a permanent fund for retraining and housing the survivors.
A genuinely honorable outcome is achieved, thanks entirely to William's dishonorable, calculated bluff.
The party is paid double their original fee. William enjoys temporary fame as a hero, but the praise rings hollow.
He recognizes that Orgos' death would not have altered one iota of the resulting pageantry. His cynical view of humanity is confirmed, but his place in the world has changed fundamentally.
He rides towards Stavis with the group, unsure if he is a survivor or an adventurer, finally recognizing the terror and triumph of the violent, unpredictable life he has been forced into.
His life before, he notes, was dark, featureless. He found his light in the chaos.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner, looking for the deep dive takeaway? Hawthorne's saga is a profound study of the necessary intersection of performance and lethal reality.
It really is.
His quick wit, his mastery of accents, and his final, cynical bluff succeeded where sheer physical force and rigid honor failed.
Absolutely. His greatest strength was ultimately his ability to read and manipulate human nature, an expertise honed entirely on the stage. He recognized that the ultimate performance was the one he enacted on the bridge. Because Arlist, the calculated politician, was easily confused and terrified by an opponent who ignored the accepted rules of conflict. William refused to play the genre of the honorable warrior.
And the most crucial action he took wasn't combat. It was dedicated, quiet, critical thinking and observation.
Yes.
His linguist skills, his time spent with the boring books, and his meticulous notice of the architectural flaw, the missing windows, provided the key intelligence that revealed the entire betrayal and saved the entire Allied force.
It proves that sometimes sitting in the corner reading an old, boring book or noticing an architectural flaw is infinitely more valuable, more lethal than swinging the heaviest sword.
The transformation of William Hawthorne is a testament to the power of applied intelligence in a world that often prizes only physical strength. The source material ends with William acknowledging that his life before the deep dive was dark, featureless. He's heading back to Stavis with the group, not as a paid actor, but as a key member of a secret operation.
He's found his calling, though he might not know it yet.
This leaves us with a final provocative thought. The saga describes his escape and subsequent transformation as a fundamental act of will.
Right.
Given that William Hawthorne was a professional liar who always sought to escape reality, was the real purpose of this sudden violent change not to defeat the enemy, but to force William Hawthorne to finally execute the one role he never had the courage to audition for?
Yeah.
The genuine, capable, quick-witted person he always pretended to be?